Hey guys, Lady Survival here. Welcome back to part 8 of my World of Warcraft Beginners Guide series. In today's video, I'm going to be teaching you all the essentials of running a dungeon in World of Warcraft as a beginner, so let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back. I know that I just did an intro and now I'm kind of saying hi again, and that's because I filmed that intro a few days ago, and then I already tried to make this video and I tried to do it like usual, where it's like pretty heavily like scripted and it's just kind of a voiceover kind of thing, but I decided I didn't like that format. It just wasn't feeling right. So we're going to be going over all things dungeons. So the first thing that you need to know is in retail WoW currently, you can use the group finder tool at level 10. So right now we are level 11 on WoW Noob, so we are able to go down here to the group finder tool, or you can press I on your keyboard for the shortcut, and you'll see that you're able to select a role and find a group. So in our case, we are a DPS, but if you were able to perform the tank or healer role, you could select that. I don't really recommend to start with tanking or healing. It's a little bit more responsibility. You would want to kind of have a good understanding of dungeons. So if you're brand new, I definitely recommend to be a DPS because it's just a lot easier. You're just doing damage and you don't really have to worry about like leading your group or keeping them alive. So basically what a dungeon is it allows you to group up with other players. There will be 5 in total and you will be one of the 5. So you'll have 1 tank, 1 healer, and 3 DPS, and then you're able to select either a random dungeon or a specific dungeon. There's also an event going on right now in WoW because the Midsummer Festival thing is happening. A random dungeon, which is the best way to do it because you'll get extra bonus rewards, including gold and experience. So definitely do the random ones. It's the best way to go and the quickest way to level. How it works with queuing up for dungeons is whatever chromie time you're in, that's the dungeons that you can enter. So we're currently in the Battle for Azeroth one, so you can see that that's what we have available. There's also like heroic stuff and dragonflight stuff, but that comes at a later level when we're higher. But this adventure guide tool right here, which is Shift J, you can use to open it. This allows you to look through the dungeons and you can view the bosses and some of the abilities that they have, the loot that they drop, and it's a really handy tool because if you're in the dungeon and you want to quickly brush up on what the encounter is going to look like, it can be really helpful. And another thing to note, I'm actually right now I'm in Stormwind, and Stormwind has a dungeon called the Stockades, and in Orgrimmar as well for the Horde, they have a dungeon in Orgrimmar as well. Just so you know that the Horde kind of has the same thing. But I wanted to show you guys that this is what a dungeon entrance looks like. And back in the day, there wasn't a group finder tool, so you couldn't queue up and have it automatically place you into a group. You had to manually find a group and manually run to the dungeon entrance. And there's a bunch of dungeons all over the world. For example, a really popular one is Deadmines, which is one of the first dungeons you'll run as an Alliance character. There is entrances to all of these dungeons, but through the Dungeon Finder tool, it will basically just teleport you there, so you don't have to worry about manually running there anymore. But I thought it would be a good just kind of way. I'm running inside. As you can see, it pulls up a loading screen, and that's because I am inside of an instance or a dungeon. And in here you can see, I'm not going to actually attack them because they will kill me, but over here you can see that there is elite mobs, or trash is what they're called, and this dragon around them means that they are a lot stronger, so that's why you need a group of 5 to kill them, and they'll also give you a lot more experience. But I just wanted to show you now, when we press M for our map, it pulls up the dungeon map. So that's kind of an example that just shows like you're in your own instanced area of the game and only your party of 5 will be part of that. But we're gonna run out, just wanted to give an example. Basically, dungeons are super fun. They level you up really, really fast, especially with the random dungeons where you get bonus experience, because then you're getting all of the experience from killing everything in the dungeon, and then at the end you get a bunch of experience. So you'll usually level up like 1 to 2 or 3 times in a dungeon, so it's really, really quick, and they only take about like maybe 15 to 30 minutes for a dungeon. So we're going to queue up for a dungeon now. So I'm going to the group finder tool, or again you can press I on your keyboard, and we have our role of DPS checked off, and we're going to be queuing for a random Battle for Azeroth dungeon. So we're going to go ahead and wait for this queue. It usually only takes a couple of minutes. And also another thing I want to mention, kind of late, already like 5 minutes into the queue, but if you go over this little eyeball down here, it'll kind of give you some updates about how the queue is going. Right now there's an average wait time of 8 minutes, and we're like 5 minutes in. And just for fun while we're waiting, because I'm bored, I'm going to hearth back to Dolinar, which is where our night elf is from, in Teldrassil, and finish the quests that I never finished there just while I'm waiting. Also, another thing, I know I just keep having more things to add, but currently if we go to the map, ooh, the dungeon too, let me just say this real quick. There's the mids, oh, someone declined, so it put us back to the beginning. That happens sometimes if someone doesn't accept. But anyways, right now is the Midsummer Fire Festival, and it goes on until the 5th of July. So there's this little event going on, and if you spin on this ribbon pull, you can get a buff. So this doesn't happen all year round, but just currently that is a thing, and now we're going to gain more experience from killing monsters, and that leads us right into we can enter our dungeon group. So here we are, we're in our first dungeon. This is called Waycrest Manor, and again it's from Battle for Azeroth. On the left here you can see your group. So over here we have our tank, you can see the little tank symbol, our healer, and then the other DPS. So basically how a dungeon works is there's a bunch of mobs. Oh, I need to summon my pet. My pet is dead. There's a bunch of mobs or trash, which is basically all of these enemies that are throughout the dungeon. If you press M to go to your map, you can see that there's bosses marked on the map, but all in between leading up to the bosses, there's going to be a bunch of trash or mobs, which is just basically stuff that you got to kill in between, and that's kind of where you get most of your experience from. And yeah, we're just going to go around. You can also see on the right here that there is a list of all the bosses that need to be killed, so that'll kind of let you track which bosses you've killed and all that good stuff. So basically it's pretty easy. We're just kind of following our group around. It's a pretty natural process. Our tank is a druid, so he's a bear, and you can see that he's kind of going ahead and initiating all of the pulls, and I'm just standing back here and doing my DPS thing. I'm obviously a ranged DPS, so I'm obviously fighting from a distance, but it doesn't matter. I can go as close as I want. I can also, if you were like a rogue or a warrior, you would have to go like right up in there because you're a melee fighter. But yeah, it's really, I mean, like for me at least, it's no big deal, and it should be mostly pretty easy. I don't know who pulled those, but that's another thing. Be mindful of your positioning. I don't think that I pulled them, but just in general, we maybe could have skipped them. Probably not, because we have to clear the room. This is a boss, so you probably want to clear the whole thing. But just in general, and we leveled up. Just be mindful so that you don't pull anything that maybe your group wants to skip. But it's really not even that big of a deal. Most people are pretty chill and they'll just pick it up for you and kill it. Okay, so we are on our first boss right now. As I was mentioning, you can also go to your adventure journal if you wanted to. You can see that this is him here, and you could read a little bit about what he does and what to avoid. It's kind of hard to read it while you're in the dungeon because, you know, it's all really fast-paced and you don't want to be just standing there reading while you're supposed to be fighting a boss. But as you can see, he's doing an ability right now and he's like casting this like green stuff. So you want to try to not stand in anything bad. If you're standing in any fire or any bad looking magic things on the ground, make sure to move out of them. You can also get the add-on GTFO, which I mentioned in my other video where I talked about add-ons, and it'll like make a noise if you're standing in something bad, so you know to like get out of it. And definitely make sure to stay with your group so you don't get lost. Like if you got distracted or like looked at your phone in real life or were just kind of busy doing anything, and if your group moves ahead of you, you might have no idea how to get there, especially if you're not comfortable with dungeons and don't know their layouts. So basically just don't fall behind if you can. Oh, see, we want to step out of something like that. So again, it's pretty straightforward. We're already on another boss. You can see this one has an X because we did it. The bosses have like mechanics, like things that you want to kind of be aware of, or like certain things. Like this one, you're supposed to pull him through fires because he's like a tree guy, so fire hurts him. But it doesn't really matter. Dungeons, while you're low level like this, they're pretty easy. You can pretty much just do damage to them until they die. And you'll want to make sure that you're always coming and looting the boss because, well, you get some gold, but sometimes there will be a piece of gear. As you can see, someone else in our group got a piece of gear. And actually, another thing that I want to mention is we're level 11. Let's see who else we have. We have a level 13, a level 35, 41, and 61. So you can see that's a vast range of levels. Basically, how dungeons work is it just scales it to your level. So for us, these guys are only like level 11, but for that level 61 character, they're like around level 61. So it just scales it to whatever level you're in. This dungeon is also pretty unique too. There aren't many dungeons that are like a house. Like that's pretty cool. Most dungeons are quite literally very like dungeony, and it's usually like in a cave of some kind. But they've definitely gotten more creative over the years, and this is kind of like a haunted house kind of vibe, which is really cool. But it's also laid out very kind of like confusing, and you can get lost really easily. A lot of dungeons, especially the older ones from like Vanilla and Burning Crusade, are very straightforward and quite literally kind of just like a tunnel that you go through and you can't really get lost in them. And we already leveled up again. I actually can't even believe how quick that is. That is crazy. It's probably because we have that buff. I literally don't even know what I'm choosing. I'm too distracted with filming that I just don't even care. So we're actually already pulling a boss, and I am late to the party. This one, just so you guys know, you can see... Oh, I just got mind controlled. But the biggest witch is the one that you're supposed to be attacking in this case. And it has a skull automatically put on it to let you know that that's the one that you're supposed to attack. But that's not always the case in other dungeons. I'm just letting you know for this particular situation. As you can see, this girl went bigger, so we're going to go over to her. This dungeon boss, as you can see, there's actually 3 of them, so it shows all of their health bars. Sometimes there will be bosses like this where there's like 2 or 3 of them and they actually share a health pool and it'll all go down at the same time. But this one, they all had their own like different health bars that you had to take down. And we got some pants, so we're going to put those on. That's definitely an upgrade. Yeah, but we're definitely making our way through. There's only 2 more bosses left. So as you can see, it's really, really quick. I think it's only been like 10 or so minutes so far. And we've already leveled up twice, and we'll probably level up another time. Ooh, another piece of gear. A belt. Wow, I feel like we killed everything so quickly. Okay, so we leveled up again. It shows that we completed the dungeon. I can't even believe that. We went from level 11 to level 14 and we're almost level 15. So that went really, really quick. We also have the buff that gives us 10% experience. So, okay, we're done the dungeon. As you can see, everyone's leaving the group. You're probably wondering, how do you leave the group? So there's 2 ways that you can do that. You can go down to this eyeball and right-click the eyeball and press Leave Instance Group, or you can right-click your portrait and press Leave Instance Group. And while on that topic, there's also a teleport out, which doesn't make you leave the group, but say if you needed to teleport out so you could go and like repair your gear or sell something or like grab something from the bank that you needed, you could teleport out and then teleport back in. But in this case, we're just going to leave. I'm just going to right click my portrait and leave, and then you'll see that it's going to return us back to wherever we were when we entered. So here we are, and now you're just able to go back to doing whatever you were doing. You can queue up again. A lot of people do that where they just keep queuing up for dungeons over and over again. That's called spamming dungeons, and it's a really good way to level up. I think the experience when we were at level 11 was like 9,300, and now at level 14 it's scaled up a bit. So that's pretty much how you run a dungeon and kind of the typical experience that it would be. The only thing that would really be different is just the dungeon that you're going to be in. So that one, for example, was Waycrest Manor, but next time it could be a different one. So it'll always be a different layout with different bosses, but it's always pretty much the same thing, which is basically follow your group, let the tank do all of the pulling, and you just worry about the damage. If you want to try tanking or healing, I would definitely recommend doing some more research. So this is me from the future. I was editing my video and there was like an issue where the last few minutes of my footage was muted. I don't know why. It's like my microphone turned off, but it didn't. So basically I was just saying that the best way to learn to do dungeons and get better is to do them. I think that you'll find that they're pretty easy and pretty fun, and you'll be max level before you know it, which is a good thing if you want to get out of the whole being stuck in the Battle for Azeroth thing until you get to level 60. So, oh my gosh, hi kitty. Oh, hello. I swear to God, every time I do a video, little kitty comes to visit. The other thing that I wanted to mention was the player versus player tab, which is also in the group finder. This is hilarious. So we have the dungeon finder to do dungeons, and then if you go over here to player versus player, you can do battlegrounds. Why are you the center of attention? So Battlegrounds is player versus player, so you'll be going kind of Horde versus Alliance kind of style. There's a bunch of different types of Battlegrounds, like with different objectives. For example, Warsong Gulch is like a capture the flag kind of thing. Arathi Basin is kind of stand on certain points and hold objectives. So there's a bunch of different ones that you can do. I'm not going to go over them, but they're definitely fun. They are also another way to level up. You'll get experience, especially if you win. I think you get a lot more experience. So if you're sick of dungeons or questing and want to try something else, player versus player is also really fun. I'm actually planning to make like my next video about player versus player and have like this one about dungeons and then one going over player versus player. But I don't think I'm actually going to bother with that because I don't feel like it's super necessary for like beginners, and that's just kind of an endeavor. Like if you want to do it, you can. And to be honest, I was thinking about it and I was gonna go to 10 episodes with this beginner guide series, but I don't think that I am. Because I'm not going to do the player versus player one. I just don't really feel it. But I think I'll do one more video going over terms in World of Warcraft, like all the abbreviations and what they mean, kind of all the like lingo in World of Warcraft, so that when you're interacting with other players or if you're reading the trade chat in the city, you kind of know what people are talking about. So I'll probably do that as the last video, which will be my next one. So anyways, good luck with the dungeons. Again, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to leave them down below. I would be happy to help. So that is all that I've got for you, and I will see you guys in the next one. I hope you have a lovely day. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please remember to throw a like and a comment on it and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I also have all of my socials linked in the description down below, so please follow me on Instagram and join the Discord page as well. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!